Welcome back. I have been leaving the screen in the background for a little while I ate some food, did a little bit of twittering, and just had a good time. And now I am back. I am ready to get those bees for the beekeeper achievement. And then I'm gonna let's see how this goes. I need to try. I gotta give the bees a chance to prove themselves to me, because I've been kind of neglecting the bees. But you know, that's not very fair. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll surprise me. So I'm gonna just give it a chance. Whoa. And with any luck, this will be a beautiful run. There we go. I think I'm gonna switch to focusing on the porcupine. I'll let the bees do their thing, but this, of all the runs that I've done so far, the swarm it doesn't fit this this run that I've been doing. Like, it's not quite suited for everything that I'm up against. But I guess slow and steady, at the very least, it has made some really good progress. That's not bad. It's those armored guys that are really causing me problems. But the bees themselves, they're getting work done. Look at that. That's even with... one of those is just a regular bee, even. Okay. I'm starting to turn around on this. The major lesson that I've been learning is that if you go for just one type, you get some pretty good boosts. You get some advantages out of it. But if you only have chickens, or bees, or snakes, then or saw sharks even, you'll eventually run into problems. Like, look at this. Actually, I might still be fine. There we go. But that, if I didn't have Spike to balance out my build, then I don't think I would have been able to do that. So when you're... I go back and forth. In some cases, it's better to just get whatever's strongest. I'll get a scallop. I'm not gonna get a scallop. Yes, I am. Who am I kidding? I could be really clever about how I want to do this, but I'm just gonna focus on making the best purchases that I can in the moment, because I may not end up getting another scallop available right away. These bees do a lot more damage than I thought. So there's that. That's a good step up. I might try to do this. You know, why not? I know that it might seem like I'm gonna throw this run away if I focus on on the getting the achievement and then seeing how far I can go, but you know what? The game needs to be fun first. And if it's... I feel like... Ooh, that was close. If it's fun for me to play, then it feels like it's more fun to watch. It's like you wouldn't watch a movie that looks like all the actors are just bored and want to go home. So why would you want to watch a game that doesn't have the energy and enthusiasm like this one does, or a video that somebody's enjoying? I don't think I'd be having nearly as much fun if I was raging at this game. The bees are amazing. I don't have to do anything. I can just let the bees do everything from far away. This is the best! I just move to each side. And it just... The kangaroo jumps into range. Oh. I was kinda... It's... If you don't start moving by the time he is starting to fall, then you're probably gonna get hit. This is going really well. There we go. The bees are just a little bit stronger than the firefly, I think. Alright, just go down before I... there we go. And another 500 booty doubloons. I don't know. Gold is just such an easy way to refer to any game currency. Gold, diamonds, cash, dollars. I'm from the US, so dollars is my go-to. And I'm sure if you were to play this game, well, maybe if you play this game and you're from the UK, also hello to anyone from the UK, but if you play this game, do you read it as dollars? I think, being from the US, we live in a bit of a bubble where everything that happens kind of revolves around us. And it's weird to us that, like, people speak other languages. I don't have a problem with it. I'll scratch that. I think it's awesome that there are people who speak so many different languages. I have known people who speak French, who speak Spanish, Persian, English, have accents of different kinds, because the US is so big that there's a lot of accents even in different states. No bees! I want another bee! But I guess, ending the rant, I'm wondering, what am I gonna have? Oh, bees are gonna demolish this level. I'm wondering, do you read that as dollars? Like, are you more familiar with other countries' money signs, or at least more familiar with the US dollar sign? Because sometimes, because I grew up in I'll say a pretty sheltered family. You know, we're very religious, so we knew everybody in our community. but we don't get to know many people outside of that. So sometimes I assume that the way that I grew up is accurate to other people's experiences. And I'm still not very good at remembering the difference between a euro and a pound, or remembering currency names, or even state names, or country names. So I want to keep an open mind. That's also why I like to say hello. Why Anne and I both like to say hello in different languages. Because, you know, the internet is an amazing thing. I get to see the comments from people who are all over the world, which is because people speak English all over. I mean, I speak English as my native language, and I also know a little bit of Spanish. Dang it, still no B. I guess next I'm gonna go ahead and grab myself a saw shark. But I know a little bit of Spanish, a teeny tiny bit of French. I know, like, if you were to speak French to me, then I would know that you were speaking French. That's the extent of how much that language I speak. I know how to kind of sort of read the Russian alphabet, but I'm not very good with, like, reading the words or pronouncing it. And then I can tell when something's written in Korean. When I was in college, Matrix. When I was in college, I started learning the Korean alphabet, and the only thing I remember is the shape of the letters, because they were very intuitive for me. And I also remember that the word for milk is oi. And if you're from Korea, then tell me if I pronounced it wrong. But I guess the internet, the world is just a beautiful place where we can talk to other people and interact. And I like that. I love that the people that I'm talking to, you know, on Discord, on Twitter, on YouTube, even on Facebook to a degree, are from all over the world. Because, you know what? The world's not that big. You can get anywhere in the world in a day. Okay. I gotta be super strategic about this, because I gotta get this bee, but then I have to go back to something else. So I'm gonna get rid of the saw shark since I didn't use it. Beekeeper! And then I am gonna get a frog. Oh, perfect timing to get a frog, since I'm gonna be dealing with those mega subs. Anyway, I guess I got distracted from talking about myself by thinking about the game. But, I got distracted too, because Anne walked into the room, and I didn't realize, like a cat, my eyes just shot up, and I was curious about what was going on over there. Whoop. But I personally love that the world is becoming such an open place. I think that we're starting to discover planets. We are, as a species, going into space, and we've already traveled. We've sent robots to Mars. We've already traveled to the moon and back many times. There are people in space all the time. There have always been people in space ever since, like, we first got them up there and could keep them there for a while. There's a place where people just live in space. And that... It's called the International Space Station because how in the world could you ever call it the U.S. Space Station? What part of space belongs to you? Do you have to get permission to go to other parts of space? I mean, if people go to the moon and they want to set up a shop, if they want to set up a little secondhand store and sell moon rocks, then who is anyone to say that they can't do that? I mean, if they can get there and they can get all that stuff set up, then oh boy, these super speedy subs are gonna cause me a bit of a bother. But we're not really just the planet anymore. We're a solar system now, or at least we're becoming more of an entire solar system, because people are thinking more about going to other planets, and they're thinking more about aliens. Actually, I read something really interesting recently, in a survey that was conducted. 63% of people surveyed said that they would basically be okay with aliens. Like, if aliens showed up, they at least feel comfortable enough that they think they could do a pretty good job of, like, saying hi and not freaking out about, like, the shape of their eyes or the size of their heads. Like, we're not just living in a more open world society. We're starting to live in a world. We're starting to live in a solar system where maybe we can start thinking about being better to other people, other life forms. You know, we use people, and I guess I'll just call them people. These other people from different planets who speak different languages, who have different culture, who have different ideas about how things work, who have different interpretations of the world. They're just people. And aliens, you know, like we call them in these movies about, like, traveling to other planets. Like, if you probably, well, maybe you've watched Avatar. Avatar is a movie based off of the story of Pocahontas. It's about it's about going to a new world with the goal of discovering things and finding this material. They're trying to get things for the home planet. And so they've gone to this planet and they just don't really realize, like, they don't feel like they're in the wrong for the things that they're doing. And maybe you have a different view of things. Maybe you think that everybody... Oh, dang. That's okay. Still got a bit of conch. maybe you think that everybody could have approached it better, or that both sides should have been more conscious of each other's beliefs or ideas. But, you know, imagine somebody, you're walking, well, let's say that you're walking home from school, and you're taking the same path that you always take. But today, somebody showed up, and your neighbor's house is gone, and they set up a huge roadblock, and they're not letting anybody come in. So you think, well, what the heck? This is my home. Obviously, they're gonna let me go to my house, right? But then they get all offended, and they get all angry at you. Why are you here? Well, we're doing something. Why do you want to be here? Like that. If somebody did that to you, you know, it's not about them maybe knocking on your door and telling you that you have to leave your house. It's the little things that, oh geez, it's the little things that people do or say that make others feel like they don't belong. And that I would be very happy if I could be the kind of person who other people could count on to feel safe and to feel welcome. Like, so Anne and I moved to Hawaii recently. It's actually been, it's been about a month now, actually, since we got to the island. And when we came to the island, we had to take a couple flights. And one of our flights stopped in Seattle, Washington, which it's in the corner, kind of top left corner of the U.S. by the coast. We stopped at the airport, and we had some things to do before we had to go wait for our next plane to show up. Because it's like waiting for a bus, really, even though it's a much bigger bus with wings. But while we were waiting, oh, dang. Okay, got another conch. Can't get a black mamba, but I'm gonna start replacing these, bees. I got what I wanted, so now I'm gonna switch back to that saw shark method. So when Anne and I were waiting, when we were waiting for the bus, when we were waiting for the plane to show up, they had to make a change to the flight. They had to move where a plane was going to land, and so they had to switch some things around. And there was a couple that was sitting next to us, and they spoke a different language. I guess it doesn't really matter which. But I noticed at one point that they were looking at their ticket. So what I did was I said, oh boy, couldn't save myself. I got their attention because, again, we don't speak the same language. So, you know, how do you say hello, how are you to somebody who doesn't speak your language? You just have to kind of learn as you go. So I got their attention, and then I just said the flight number as a question. I don't remember. I think it was like 416 or something like that. So I just said 416, and they both said yes. And so, oh dang. So then I said, I did my very best. I just said, I just said 416, and then I pointed off to the distance in the direction of the gate, and I said 416, and then I said the name of the new gate. I said, like, the old gate was like 80 something, and then I said the new gate was the other 80 something. And then we got up and we went towards the other gate. And that, like, it did end up, like, when they actually took a little bit longer than us to get to the gate. But when they got there, they went to the counter, and they made sure they showed the ticket, and they double checked that that was the right place. And then when they walked by, they saw us, and they both just waved, you know, as to say thanks. And I didn't, like, we didn't sit next to them, or we didn't, like, see them anymore, but it was really nice because I love talking to people. I love meeting new people, but I like talking to people even if I don't speak their language. I like just saying hi. Oh man, when those manta rays get together, that makes it so difficult. But I like people. And, you know, when I used to work at McDonald's, and I lived in Washington, so I worked at a McDonald's where a lot of people spoke Spanish. In fact, it was like at least 30% of the population, like 1 out of every 3 people spoke Spanish, which is not as weird as it seems. A lot of people speak a ton of languages. There are people who speak Russian and Vietnamese. I met people who spoke Chinese, I guess Mandarin, just all sorts of languages. But there, when I worked at McDonald's, I had to at least know how to say cheeseburger, and how to say pickles and onions and tomato. I needed to know how to say bun. I needed to know how to say put on or take off. Like, it was my job to learn, like, how people spoke. Just because everybody I've met in my life has spoken English doesn't mean that everybody in the world should speak English. That would be like you saying that because everybody in your family speaks Tagalog, that everyone in the world should have to speak it. Like, that would make sense. Like, I mean, okay, well, are you going to teach it? Because, I mean, if you'll teach me, I would love to learn Tagalog. I would love to learn Afrikaans or Greek, or just, there are so many languages that I love the sound of. Actually, if I'm being honest, because I speak Spanish okay, but the language I would love to learn the most is Korean. I love the letters. It just makes sense to me, and that makes it, like, that just makes it more interesting. But I mean, if I were gonna move to South Korea next year, then it's my job to know enough that I can get around. Or if I go to Norway, then I need to be able to ask somebody where the nearest bathroom is. Like, that's just how it goes. You know, obviously, you know, sometimes people struggle. There are people who are deaf, or people who have other disabilities that prevent them. They can't reliably speak the language, and that's okay. You know, humans have to do their best to accommodate them. But I don't know. It just kind of rambling about stuff. I just think I think that people need to have have enough of an open mind that you'll at least learn to say hello. I recently learned that hello in Polish is cześć, and it's got accents over a bunch of the letters, and I honestly don't know what those mean. And my grandma is of Polish heritage. But I learned how to say hello in Vietnamese. It's xin chào. I think that's it. Yeah, that sounds right. If it's wrong, maybe I'll just go watch one of my videos. I actually said hello in Vietnamese. Just to say hi to people, because I noticed there were some people watching my videos. And I wonder if do you speak, for just anybody watching, do you speak multiple languages? Do you know, or do you have family members who speak many languages? Because if you're listening to this, you probably speak English. But I'm wondering if maybe you have relatives who speak Vietnamese, or you have relatives that speak Russian or any of those languages. 'Cause I talk a lot in these videos. I mean, if you're watching, then you obviously know that. But it's hard for me to think about, oh dang, I think I can still beat this boss. It's hard for me to think about, ooh, whew, wait a minute, do the bees hit him? Do the bees automatically hit him? Oh, I thought they did. But I talk a lot, and I speak English. You know, it's not enough for me to, you know, if you're from Mexico or Guatemala and you're watching this video, then I feel like you have to speak English, or it's just a really funny coincidence that you're watching this video. But yeah, if you're, I'm interested in maybe doing like some captions, just cause, you know, it's goofy. I just talk about all sorts of things, whatever is really on my mind. And I was thinking maybe my sister-in-law, or my soon-to-be sister-in-law, she's been learning Welsh. She's been using Duolingo, which, if you haven't heard of Duolingo, I'm going to put a link to that, because Duolingo is amazing. They've got like 50 languages. It's all free. So if you speak a couple languages and you would like to help out with translating these, then let me know. Comment or send me a message, or I don't know if YouTube does messages. But just get in touch with me, because I would love for more people to see the videos that I'm posting and be able to, oh, that was close, be able to hear what I have to, well, just hang out, really. It's not so much about what I have to say. It's more about, oh boy, whew. It's just about making a fun and like accessible environment for people, even if they speak a different language, even if they can't hear very well. I was thinking about maybe doing some captions of sorts. So I guess that's the end of that big old long rant. The point is, you know, be nice when we meet aliens, because there are a lot of movies that talk about like what it's gonna be like when you meet aliens, and they're all like, they're trying to make you scared of the aliens, but some of them are nice. Oh. All right. Oh, Ursula. Ursula has been gone this entire she's been gone this entire run. She's been absent. But now that she's back, we're happy to have her. Oh, move my mouse off the screen. If I had $1 for every time that my mouse was on the screen while I was recording, then I would have a lot of dollars. I'm still not ready. I'm not ready to abandon the music from this. I could just take hits, but I want to get these shells. I still have some unlocks to get, so I feel like the best thing for me to do is to just do them. If I lose, I lose, but I don't think I've ever lost one of these without getting hit on purpose at least once. Because otherwise I just activate my ability. Oh, I don't have my ability. I was trying to activate it. The bonus levels have a bit more metagame. You have to kind of think about it a bit more. Because now I've got my ability, and I want to activate my ability, which I will, but if I get hit again, if you get hit, your ability comes back. So you would get hit and your ability would come back, but what if your ability was just about to come back, right? If it was right about to come back, then, oh boy. Okay. It begins. I think that's starting to look pretty good. Stealth, and the Giga Subs, and I've already got a frog, and I've got my saws. I don't know about you. I've got 3 lives left. I think I might have a pretty good shot at this. Don't you think? Look at that, I can just swoop that around and then mlimp him right up. I think I could do this. No speedy subs for this section, so I don't have too much to worry about there. And then these Giga Subs, they're so big, and they look a little bit like the Starship Enterprise. Not a whole lot, like not enough that I would say that looks like the Enterprise, but enough that I kind of think about it whenever I look at them. But I guess that's just what all spaceships look like in our eyes. But it may be, I mean, what if like today, what if like while you were watching this video, aliens like landed, or like the news came on, and it was announced that there was like another planet, and they were like super like us, like they just look like humans, but maybe like their ears are a lot bigger, and their noses are a lot bigger, but their mouths are super small. Like, what if that happens, and then like their cars and their spaceships don't look anything like what we imagine? Like, what would that be like? I mean, would we just, like, how do you decide how to deal with something like that? Like, what if you were the first one to meet an alien? Then It's like E.T. or I don't know, or like Octogeddon. If you were the first person to meet an alien, then what would you do in response to that? Would you have to, like, go to somebody? There's not a law. Is there a law? I don't know. I'm in the US. I don't know if there's a law, but is there, like, a law that if you meet an alien that you have to, like, tell the government? Because that would be pretty weird. I feel like if an alien landed and they were, like, trying to talk to people, they would be pretty careful about who they talked to first, right? They're gonna like study humanity, and they're gonna say, okay, so these apparently there are like different big houses that people live in, and that's where all of their leaders live. So we're gonna go to a bunch of those big houses, and we're just gonna say hi to a bunch of them all at once, like that way. Because they're like, okay, they have these things called televisions, and basically they all sit and stare at them, and that lets them see everything that's happening everywhere else. And they're like, oh, you mean like a Glimbodulor? And they say, yeah, exactly, except instead of using, you know, the little fungus, they use this kind of weird spiky thing at the top. You know, like typical alien stuff. So that, I don't know, what do you do when you're the first person to talk to aliens? Because obviously you're gonna use movies to kind of think about it. Like any movie is gonna kind of talk about, like even Transformers, what's your responsibility as the first contact for humanity? Are you required or obligated to do those things, like to go to somebody? But what if they're like crash landed, and what if it's like a bird? Oh, what if it was like a bird that broke its wing? It was like flying, and it hit your window and it hurt itself, so you took it inside to nurture it. But then it started, like, trying to communicate with you. Like, what would you do? I don't know what I would do. I know I would definitely get another saw shark. But really. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call it good for now. Give you some things to think on. And I'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye. Do svidaniya, I think, is the Russian. Aloha and mahalo. Adios. And au revoir.